Hi there. Welcome to Discussions with the Fascia Masters. My name is Deanna Hansen. I am the founder of Fluid Isometrics and Block Therapy, and I want to welcome my very special guest, Dr. Veronique. You know what? I'm going to have you do this, Dr. V, because I'm not going to do this as well as you. Your beautiful French name. Can you please share?
Sure. Veronique Desaulniers, better known as Dr. V.
And this is so exciting because both Dr. V and I are on the Holistic Leadership Council, which is how we met. And coincidentally, she used to live in Winnipeg, which is, of course, my hometown. Now, you got out of here.
Yes.
And after this winter, I can only tell you how lucky you are because it's been a really bad one. But so excited to have you on to discuss breast health. So if you can dive in, share your story, tell us all about you, we're going to have an amazing conversation.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Deanna. It's so serendipitous that, you grew up, well, we both grew up, in, the other side of the river, in the French section, Saint Boniface. But here we are, some many decades later. But my journey really, it started back in Saint Boniface, in that little French community, when I was 16 years old and I heard a chiropractor who happened to be my, kind of in-law. And he was on fire about wellness and, really teaching the world about the power of health and healing. And it was the light bulb moment. I knew that I wanted to bring wellness to the world. So fast forward, I moved to Marietta, Georgia, and became a chiropractor. And, 3 years into my practice, my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And of course, conventional treatments. I mean, they gave him no hope. They said, basically you'll be dead in about 6 weeks. And, my poor dad, who was so afraid, he bought into it and, he was gone in 6 weeks. But, through that time, I remember, calling various cancer clinics, which were, few and far between back then, and doing my research, going to the library, no internet. And I realized like something could have been done for my dad, but, it was too late. So I really started incorporating a more holistic approach, not just, chiropractic, but started introducing nutrients and supplements and diet and lifestyle, all of that with my practice, and really saw some amazing changes with my clients. I mean, reversing MS and cancer and all these things. So fast forward to 2004, so 23 years later, I'm in the shower, I'm doing a breast exam, and bam, felt that lump that changed the course of my life forever. How could somebody like me develop cancer? I was the wellness warrior, I was teaching people how to be healthy, and yet here I had this lump in my breast. So that took me down the path of really looking at my lifestyle, what were the pieces of the puzzle that I missed, and really try to understand how and why I developed cancer, because I knew cancer was just the tip of the iceberg, right? It's not the cause, it's just the tip. What was the underlying cause? So as I was doing my research and a lot of soul searching, I felt like I was jumping from one place to the other. I didn't feel like there was a step-by-step process that would allow me to check off the boxes and know that I was getting everything done. And that's when I sat down with a pen and a pad, and I just started writing things down, and I felt like it was a download. And that's how I came up with the 7 Essential System. It's a step-by-step guide that if you follow, you never have to fear cancer or any dis-ease for that matter.
Beautiful. Oh, that is so exciting. Can you dive in and share how this system works and what it looks like?
Yes. So it's all in a book for you, Heal Breast Cancer Naturally. And, we do have various programs that if you feel like you're stuck on your healing journey, that, we have programs that can help support you in that. But if we start off, essential number 1 is let food be your medicine. And of course, feel free to dive in and ask any questions or, say anything you'd like to say about this. But, your audience, I'm sure, is pretty informed about diet. More and more people are aware compared to what they were, 20 years ago. Is there a specific cookie cutter anti-cancer diet, no. I've seen extremes from vegetarian to carnivores get well. So it really depends on your genetics. It depends on your blood type. It depends on your metabolic, your metabolism. Some people are more type A personalities. Some people are more laid back personalities. And, there's a lot of research, a lot of studies that show us that there's no cookie cutter diet, but just big picture, organic, 80% raw. Really cut back on your grains, millet and quinoa or more seeds. So those are okay, but really cut back on the grains, because the important thing with essential number one is making sure that you're monitoring your blood sugar and you're keeping your blood sugar nice and low. Because if let's say you're juicing bags of carrots and beets every day, your blood sugar may be spiking, your insulin may spike. That can cause insulin growth factors, that can cause you to become insulin resistant. So it's an important process, because those sugar pathways can really turn on some cancer causing genes. So that's a big one for essential number one.
Yeah. And it's, I've always steered clear of the whole food conversation because it is so unique. And I mean, I'm sure I could do so much better in what I do, but I really go by how I feel. And it was years ago when I realized that I don't digest meat well. So that was the reason that I became a vegetarian. Simply, I was getting backed up. So my system was absolutely saying no. So I really encourage people to, and it's tough sometimes, especially when you're dealing with a lot in your body, to really have a cause and effect that are close enough together to understand how you feel. But as you start cleaning yourself out more, I find that you really do start to hear what your body says as a result of what you're eating and how you're feeling.
Absolutely. And, case in point on that, during my second healing journey, which we can talk about as well, I mean, I'd been juicing for decades, like literally, 30 years. But I just ramped it up even more. And as I did that, my body just didn't feel good. I mean, I was, foggy and just icky. And I thought, well, maybe let me test my blood sugar. And my blood sugar was off the charts. And so I started adjusting and doing, I cut back on the carrots and the beets and just did more greens. And then I did more blending as well. So I really learned to monitor my sugar, because I was becoming insulin resistant.
Okay. Yeah, I've really ramped up the blending lately. I've been juicing celery every day for the last 2.5 years, and I've added in much more of the blending now. And I love the spinach, cucumber, apple combo. Actually, my very favorite juice is grapes, blueberries, spinach with cardamom and cinnamon. It tastes like Dr. Pepper.
Wow.
It's like my dessert go-to. So I love it. And I know that I'm getting some like really good hydration and nutrients, but yeah, like it really is figuring out. And that's amazing that, you can really overdo what you think is good for you too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's your second point?
Okay. Essential number 2 is to reduce your toxic exposure. We can't live in a bubble. We live in a toxic world. Even if we try to eat organic, guess what? Maybe there's glyphosates next door and sprays and the toxic rain and all of that. But you can take specific steps to reduce your exposure. So just look at the macro picture, be aware of things like EMFs. Are you living near a big high power electrical grid, or is there a cell tower, next door? Just be aware of that. And even in your home, turn your Wi-Fi off at night. And, where there's a lot of technology, that you can put on your phone. They have cases now that protect with EMFs, because EMFs can be a big trigger for cancer, because, the way it affects our DNA and our immune system.
Do you have a favorite company that you get your products from?
Yes, so there's 2. One is called GIA, G-I-A, GIA Wellness, and they make guards for your phone and things you can plug into your home. And then there's another technology from Germany called QI technology, and theirs is more like for your home. They have like big things that you can creates a torus field, and it really helps to neutralize the biological effects.
Okay.
They have a tower you can travel with, a small one that you can keep in your purse, or near your computer. So all kinds of fun tools. And that's great because, we know that we can't escape it, and 5G is coming, whether we like it or not, right?
Yeah.
So we just have to, protect our environment from that as much as possible. And obviously don't put your cell phone in your bra or on your pant pocket all the time.
No, keep it as far away from you as possible. It just makes me, when I hear that kids are keeping it under their pillows when they're sleeping, and I just think, oh my gosh, you just don't even recognize what's happening. And we need to get this information out there.
And, with your line of work, and people are like this, right? All the time now, they're just bent over on their phones, structurally, how it's really compressing the organs because they're so bent over all the time. Yeah. Crazy.
Yes, so much.
So look at, as far as toxicity, look at, your yard, what are you putting down in the grass? What are you putting inside your house? Are you spraying for pests? Are you using artificial candles and sprays? What are you cleaning with? All those things have an impact. There's hundreds of chemicals that are related to breast cancer just in household cleaning products. Look at what you're putting on your skin, because everything you put on your skin is absorbed directly into your bloodstream. So again, look at the labels and use organic as much as possible. If you can't read it, more than likely it's some sort of toxic chemical. And there's a great website, ewg.org, Environmental Working Group. Okay. They have lists and lists of all different kinds of products, sunscreens, household products, and you can look to see, on a scale of 1 to 10, if yours is in the cancer-causing range or is it safe. So that's a help.
I think I was very fortunate years ago. I am so hypersensitive to the scents and the chemicals. And a few years back, I was listening to Dr. Mercola, and he said to use vinegar and salt to wash your clothes, which is what I've been doing for a long time. And it's just, I love it because it smells so fresh and it never gives off some kind of candy scent and then I think of these poor little babies who can't speak up and say, I can't breathe because you've wrapped me in this wonderful fluffy towel that you threw bounce in the dryer, right? And exactly. Now you're that's great information.
Yeah, and as clean as we try to be, we still have to learn how to detox our body. So take the time to do coffee enemas, because that'll help stimulate the liver and glutathione production in your body. Colonics, sweating. There was a study done called the BUS study, BUS, blood, urine, saliva, where they looked at the excretion of heavy metals and environmental chemicals in the environment, and sweat had the highest amount of toxicity. So getting in your sauna and using a biomat, really getting that sweat out so you can get those environmental chemicals out.
Okay. So number three
is to balance your energy. We are 1 billionth physical matter. The rest is all energy, right? So we're energetic beings. How do we balance that? Well, chiropractic, acupuncture, block therapy, obviously that's going to open up, the fascia. Really looking at your sleep, because if you're not sleeping properly, that's going to affect your energy. Sleep is very restorative and healing. And hormones, your hormone health. We know that our hormones affect us, right? They affect our mood and our physiology in our body. And when it comes to hormones and breast cancer, there's so much fear around that. Conventional medicine has really demonized our hormones. You have breast cancer, so we have to really give you these toxic chemicals to stop the hormone production so the cancer won't spread. Well, if our hormones cause cancer, every 20-year-old on the planet would have cancer, right? It's not our hormones. It's the chemical estrogens in the environment, the heavy metals, all these things that are triggering those hormone things. So important for you to understand, do you have congested liver? Because if you do, you're not going to break down your hormones properly. Do you have something called methylation problem? Methylation or metabolism, it's how you break down your hormones. If you do, that can cause the aggressive estrogens to continue to circulate. But there's nutritional things that you can do to support that process so it doesn't happen. So very important to balance your energy.
I always find it so interesting that the natural responses of the body are what ultimately become demonized. I talk a lot about inflammation, and it's really the gold if we understand the process and what to do with it once it comes. And yet so many people talk that inflammation is the problem. And I see it as, well, we just need to, heat it up and deal with it properly so that it can actually do its job of rejuvenating our body.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good point.
Okay. Next.
Number 4. Now this is a big one. Heal the emotional wounds. And I think if I were to start over, I would put that as number 1. Because healing, you've got to heal between the ears and heal what's in the heart, because you can do all the stuff, all the supplements, all the things, but if you still have that emotional struggle, you're still carrying baggage from the past. We know that our immune system is greatly affected, and our DNA is greatly affected by our thoughts and our feelings, right? Emotions are energy in motion. Psychoneuroimmunology has studied that for decades. And so very important to take the time to open up those cans of worms, so to speak, that perhaps you've avoided. Childhood issues, teenage, young adult, what are your relationships like now? Do you have toxic relationships? The relationship with yourself, that little girl inside of you, have you hugged her? Have you told her you love her? Does she feel safe, or are you still in that fight or flight mode? So there's so much work to be done there. Do
you have any favorite processes that you've utilized for yourself and your clients that are most impactful?
Yes, EFT, emotional freedom technique. The tapping is very, very good. But, I really recommend, if you're on an active healing journey, work with someone who's certified in the work. Yeah, you can kind of figure it out. And I've got, a lot of videos on my YouTube channel, but, really work with somebody to get to the root cause of those issues. Dr. Joe Dispenza, You Are the Placebo, his work. Really getting to that visualization and meditation where you feel your body as vibrantly healthy, and you see and know that the cancer is melting away. And there's EMDR, which is eye movement therapy that you work with a therapist with. So there's a lot out there that you can work with. And reading, we have a list for our clients when they sign up with us. We have a list of books that we recommend that they read, because it's a process. This healing is not just about getting rid of the lump. It's about a transformation of your life, because everything that you've done up to this diagnosis has allowed cancer to show up. So going forward, everything about your life has to change. How you eat, how you sleep, the relationships you have, the emotional work you do, getting into that relaxation mode every day, because we're like this all the time, right? Parasympathetic, but really getting into that, that we're too much in the sympathetic, but getting into the relaxation phase, the parasympathetic. And a great little tool is the Heart Math app. It's a little clip you put on your ear to measure heart rate variability. And so there's a lot out there to be had for you to heal those wounds.
I found it really interesting when I was reading Joe Dispenza's book that he said every time you pull up a memory, it actually morphs. So if you've pulled up this memory 100 times, 500 times since childhood, it's not even the story that actually happened. Yeah. And yet we keep getting caught into the emotional impact of what that does on the body. So I found that so fascinating, because I think, how many times have I told these stories and did that even happen now? It's really making me question, what my actual truth was, because that's fascinating to me that each time it morphs. And then you think of how stories travel through people sharing it and how they morph. And by the time you hear it over here, it's probably extremely different than what actually happened.
Yeah.
So very interesting stuff. Well, that's great information. Okay, let's move on.
So number 5 is embrace biological dentistry. Now, yeah, your teeth are connected to your organs through your acupuncture meridian system. So energetically, the health of your teeth and your gums can impact specific organs. And we see that all the time. Women with, inflammation through thermography, or they have a root canal or a piece of metal in one of those teeth relating to the breast tissue. I mean, there's such an amazing correlation all the time. And then you have to look at what you're putting in your mouth and in your teeth. If you have so-called silver fillings, I mean, those are 50% mercury, and they're releasing a lot of toxins, and some metals like mercury, aluminum, cadmium are what we call metalloestrogens. They literally mimic and stimulate estrogen production in the body. So very important to work with a biological dentist who's certified in the SMART technique. That's it's called SMART. It's I forget what it stands for, but it's amalgam removal technique that's done in a very safe way. Cavitations, cavitations are an infection in the bone, and that happens if you've had an extraction and the pocket was never cleaned out properly. Then it creates an infection, and literally it creates a hole in the bone, and that's dripping toxicity on a specific meridian. Look at the health of your gums, right? If you have inflammation, that's going to drip a lot of toxins. And there's a correlation. I mean, postmenopausal women who have gum disease are, I forget the percentage, like twice as likely to develop breast cancer, but it's a strong correlation. And then a root canal is a dead organ. It's like having a dead gallbladder in your body. No matter how clean you try to make it, it's always going to have a pocket of bacteria at the root, and again, dripping toxins and compromising your immune system.
How do you feel about all of these young people getting their wisdom teeth yanked out?
No, as a matter of fact, I just told one of my clients' daughters who was getting ready to have it done. She asked me, I said, no, there's no need for that.
Yeah.
Even if they're coming in horizontally, if you're not having any pain or discomfort, it's not affecting anything else, just leave them, right? I mean, I have two of mine. I had to have the other ones pulled because of infection and such, but
I have all four of mine. And I always felt that it's really the fence posts to keep the jaw and everything properly aligned. And when I look at the posture of the youth, because they're so compressed and their jaw's coming forward, you can see that. But then as soon as you take these teeth out, it just allows more room for more forward compression and more blockages. So it makes me crazy when I hear that, because it just seems to be the norm. Oh, you're this age, let's pull them out. And I'm thinking they are there for a reason. They're called wisdom teeth for a reason.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. It's the way to pad their pockets, I think.
Okay.
All right. Number 6 is to repair your body with therapeutic plants and herbs, and that includes supplements. So just, basic things. You want to make sure you get all your trace minerals in. So obviously food is a good way, but unfortunately a lot of our food is deficient. But you need things like zinc and selenium and magnesium. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is really a steroid hormone, and it turns on over 200 genetic switches in your body. Wow. And especially in the cold north, when you're not getting a lot of sun, the good part of the year, you need to make sure that your vitamin D levels are between 80 and 100. It's different in Canada. I just did that. You want them to be around 200 to 250 in Canada. It's a different metric compared to the US. Because women who have higher vitamin D levels are less likely to develop breast cancer. And if they have breast cancer, they're going to heal a lot better.
Well, in this year, I don't think I've seen the sun in 6 months.
Oh, no.
It's been honestly, in Winnipeg, it's been the worst winter of my 52 years living here. We've had the most snow, the most cold. It snowed yesterday. It's May 2nd yesterday, and there was still snow. It's finally a sunny, bright day today, but I mean, it's been a really strange year here. So, and all I want to do is get out and get some walking in, because I'm a fair weather girl. So why I'm living here still, I'm not really sure, but
exactly. Wow. And do you are you able to use sun lamps or things in your home because they
I
make
don't.
lamps?
Fortunately, my apartment is all windows, no matter
Okay.
what room I am. So I get lots of natural light.
Okay.
But in the summer, I mean, I'm outside all the time. I just love
Right.
absorbing the sun, and I don't use sunscreen. I
Yeah.
use actually a coconut oil hemp product that's wonderful for, keeping the good rays in and the bad rays out. So I've done very well with that.
Good. Yeah, sunlight is so important for our circadian rhythms and melatonin production. I mean, all of that. So, wow. Yeah. I mean, I remember as a child feeling depressed in the wintertime. It's just like I was not cut out for winter at all. I mean, genetically, you can test for that SAD gene, seasonal affective disorder. And yeah, I've got the double digits on that one. So,
oh, wow.
I
don't think I have that because I kind of like the seasons and the hibernation aspect of the winter, but if it were 3 months, not 6 months.
Not 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, can't control that.
All right. Yeah. So therapeutic plants and herbs. So there's hundreds and hundreds, and I've got over 700 references in my book.
Wow.
Everything that we talk about is based on studies and science. There's so much evidence on everything from bloodroot to wormwood to berberine, curcumin, even concentrates of blueberries, broccoli sprouts, which are really high in sulforaphane. I mean, they turn on hundreds of genetic switches. I mean, there's a whole, I mean, we could spend a whole day just talking about that aspect, but, recognize that when you give your body what it needs, it has an amazing capability of repairing and healing itself. Again, that cancer is just a message of love that your body's out of balance, your life is out of balance. So you can have the opportunity to repair all of that.
I see, I love knowing that everything in the universe is a mirror of itself. And, when COVID began and suddenly everything was shut down, it was so fast that the skies cleared and the oceans cleared, and you were seeing this very quick rejuvenation. And I also feel the same thing with the body. If we take out the bad and we start doing the good, it's incredible how fast we can bring health back in. We just have to know the process. So thank you so much for sharing all this. This is amazing information.
Yeah, well, thank you. And number 7 is early detection, adopting very early detection. And so when we think of early detection for breast cancer, what's the first thing we think of is the mammogram, right? Radiation, compression. There's actually a 25-year Canadian study done on 90,000 women, and they showed after 25 years that mammography did not reduce breast cancer mortality rate, not even by 1%.
Wow.
We know radiation causes cancer. So when you're repeatedly squishing and radiating, it makes sense to think that maybe that's an aggravation to our breast tissue. If you choose to do a mammogram, always back it up with an ultrasound. Ultrasound uses, sound waves, and it can look at things perhaps that a mammogram doesn't pick up, because if you have dense breasts, and it's going to take 6 to 8 years for a lump to show up on a mammogram anyway. So, get something to back that up. And then, of course, there's thermography. Thermography reads the infrared heat coming off your body. If there's, redness or extra heat, then we know that there's some physiological changes going on in the breast. So it's like a red flag. What do we need to do? What's going on? Get more testing, get an ultrasound, that sort of thing. And there's so many tests now that are available to find cancer at such an early stage. I mean, they're doing a test now. There's a test called the Gallery test, where they literally, with a blood draw, they can look at 50 different kinds of cancers to see if that cancer DNA is in your bloodstream. And, 10 years ago, people wouldn't even think of coming up with stuff like that. There's another test called the cancer profile that looks at the hormones that cancer cells give off. And if it's in the blood, then chances are there's something developing, maybe not visible yet, but developing. So lots of things that you can do for very early detection.
So I've never had a mammogram. And I remember years ago at one of the holistic natural places in Winnipeg, they had thermography. And then of course they took it away. The government stopped allowing it. So I use my hands to figure out, because with blocking, and I understand the whole dense breast, it's all about creating that space and creating so that you can actually feel everything. So that's how I've always managed my own self.
Very good.
So it's great that I would also, if I ever had a concern and I would absolutely get a live blood analysis to see, what's in the blood and what I would need to do from that perspective then.
Definitely. So speaking of breast exams, here's something called My Breast Friend. So this is a silicone breast that has different lumps in it. Okay. And this design was created by the Mammacare Foundation to train doctors and nurses how to do a proper exam. And the manufacturer of this model asked me to make it look pretty and get it out to the general public so women could learn how to do a breast exam. And so there's a video that comes with it. It comes in this box, and let me show you this right here. This is really amazing. So the average size lump that a woman finds when she's not trained in a breast exam is this size right here.
Okay, wow.
When she's properly trained, she can find something as small as 0.5 centimeter. So it's so important, because even if you do a screening, that's once a year, but so many things can happen in that year, right?
Yes.
And so you have the opportunity to check your breasts every month. So
wonderful. Wow, that's amazing information. So now if somebody wanted to reach out and get your personal guidance through things, how would they do that?
So our website is breastcancerconqueror.com, and we're on Facebook, all the social media. And you can find this model, My Breast Friend, at mybreastfriend.com, and my book's on Amazon.
And you've been on many, many platforms. Can you talk a little bit about all of those incredible spaces that you've been on to educate people all over the world?
Yes, we're in our 10th year now. I'm celebrating 10 years. And, when we started this, I never imagined in my wildest dreams that I'd be doing this in phase 2 of my career, after practicing chiropractic for 30 years and having a clinic and all of that. But now we have coaches, we have live retreats, we have virtual retreats. We've supported women in 60 countries so far. And when you write a book and you start sharing your story, people want to interview and want to know more, and I'm so grateful for that. But Truth About Cancer, Conquering Cancer docuseries. I mean, there's so many of them, podcasts, all of that. So very grateful for the opportunity to share, my journey and the things that it can do to help other women as well.
And on your website, do you have some of these discussions that you've had?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we've got all kinds of, online courses that you can look at. We've got our podcast. I do podcasts as well. So there's all kinds of information there, free information, blogs. I've been blogging for 10 years. So
fantastic. So if you had anything you would just like to say to every woman on this planet right now, what would you like to share?
I would say, be kind to yourself. Women are marvelous creations and creatures of love. And we oftentimes multitask and put everybody else first. We put ourselves last on the to-do list. And if it's one thing that my healing journeys have taught me, is to learn to nurture yourself, nurture that little girl, take time for yourself, do more things that bring you joy and less things that bring you pain. And if you are diagnosed with breast cancer, know that it's really a gift, right? Ask yourself, what is the gift? What is my body telling me? Why am I going through this journey? What can I learn? And if you have that attitude of being not a victim, but a victor, right? You're going to thrive. Then you will come out on the other side a much happier and healthier you.
Oh, that's amazing. When people ask me that question, I say the same thing. Be kind to yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree. We just, we really have come from this place where we just expect so much, and the perfectionistic ideals, and then the workload, all of those things. And wherever that happened along the way, we've certainly really not given ourselves the love and the compassion and the value that we all have. And yeah, we get caught in this dynamic. And I think I agree that number one is number one, figure out the emotional stuff, because boy, oh boy, like you can be in a great mood, and one thing can trigger you, and it can just create such an influx of acid in your system. And it doesn't take anything other than a trigger. So if you can really identify those triggers and start to, again, repair those relationships from when you were young and all the things that come along the way, I think that's really the very first starting point. All those other things I do feel are secondary to that very first starting point. And of course, from my perspective, it's really all about the breath. Because that's also connected to the emotion as well. I love Eckhart Tolle's way of describing it, how when we're breathing diaphragmatically, we're living in the moment and we're changing the brain pattern to a relaxed pattern compared to breathing through the muscles of the upper chest where we're stuck in stress mode. So there's so many things we can do. And I just really want everybody to know, but of this topic, women to know that like there's prevention and there's solutions that, don't have negative side effects. It's all about win-win, right?
Absolutely. And, one of my missions is to really educate women so that they never fear breast cancer again. There's nothing to fear, but, we know that that's not what happens when you get that diagnosis. And, recognize that even if you choose to, do some Western medicine, there's still a lot of things that you can do in the natural world to heal those side effects and to allow you to go through the healing journey without losing your hair and without being so sick all the time.
Yeah.
So there can be a nice balance of both.
Well, and what an amazing mission for you to take something so personal and to turn that into a purpose. We need that, because to know that we can get on the other side, then suddenly it's like, okay, it's not a death sentence.
No.
And it doesn't even have to be an aging sentence. In fact, it can probably be a sentence of, okay, I can actually move toward a better life from before the diagnosis because of all the wonderful releases and the cleaning out and the change of your whole perspective of life, really.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. V. This has been absolutely amazing. We are going to be sharing this on YouTube and with our entire community. And I'm sure there's going to be so many people just absolutely thrilled to have this information.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Deanna, for having me. And I'm so glad that our paths have crossed, and I'm sure we'll be in touch again. Thank you for sharing my message of hope.
And thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful day.